I had the honor of interviewing Brianna Reinhold, a clinical therapist and expert. She has been in the mental health field for 15 years. She is a former first responder, and she is incredibly passionate about supporting first responders' mental health. You don't want to miss this. Let's see what Brianna has to share with us. May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to be focusing more on the mental health support for first
Mm-hmm.
responders. But you actually used to be a first responder yourself. So what are you doing now to provide mental health support for first responders?
I honestly try and give mental health support in every avenue possible, from just wellness visits to kind of let them have a space, to monthly maintenance sessions where they come in and just kind of dump the calls they've been on, to intensive therapy if they've had critical incidences or just family stuff going on. We want to make it more accessible. We want to reduce the stigma that's tied to it and just get them the help so they can ideally do their career long term and not have issues in and outside of the career.
For those that have first responders in their family,
Mm-hmm.
how can families and friends help support the loved ones that is a first responder that is struggling with, say, there was a call that they went to, or just working in such a heavy field?
Patience, support. Growing up in a family of lots of law enforcement, I saw that it took the toll and we just didn't talk about it then. So I'm actively out speaking on that to try and help those in the career to understand the impact that it brings home to the family. A lot of the first responders, it's going to be kind of what their comfort level is sharing. But for the family members, it's literally just being there, letting them know that you care, having your own boundaries. You need to have your boundaries to take care of you too, but trying to engage in whatever works for them, getting them out of the house, getting them out of their funks, doing things that are beneficial for the family as a whole while giving them that safe and supportive environment.
So when you were a first responder, do you remember what the need was of support for you and your colleagues?
Oh, I remember it all the way back from childhood because I watched it completely destroy my dad. And he was a homicide detective and a SWAT negotiator, and my mom was a dispatcher, and I could go on and on and on. My whole family bleeds red and blue. He came home and he would drink and he would be emotionally unavailable, but you don't talk about your emotions. So I was raised to shove it down, and that's weakness. And then when I worked in the jail, so I was a detention officer, same thing. You don't talk about it. It's a stigma attached to it. You're weak if you cry. So I kept that mentality going. I was on the peer support team at the time for 2 line of duty deaths. And the first one, nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how to handle it. It was more check the boxes. The second one was a little bit better. Here's some support, but then the follow through never really lasted. So they give that initial outpouring without anything coming up for the aftermath. So I just watched it keep destroying people because they didn't feel like they had people they could open up to, that understood the job, that they felt comfortable, that they could come in and be themselves in a session. There's a lot of therapists that don't always understand what the job entails and how that can change a person's personality. So they would have that fear of losing their job if they went and got help, fear of having that diagnosis on their records, all of these things. So we try here to where if you want to use your insurance and we take it, great. If you want to come and pay cash pay, our first responders automatically get a cash pay discount. Because I don't want them to not, because they just can't use their insurance. And then we work with nonprofits to make sure that they just get those services. So money's never the issue. It's more their own anxiety walking through the front door instead of anything else.
Do you feel like there's a change in how the agencies handle that now versus back then?
I feel like it's getting better. Arizona is its own unique place that we have what's called the Craig Tiger Act. And it is the only state that the departments will pay for an officer to get a certain number of sessions if their issues are related to a critical incident they had on the job. So they fill out a form, they see a therapist, and we bill the department directly. And so they get a set number of sessions. So that's huge because if they're involved in a shooting, a child death, that type of stuff, they can get services without ever having to touch their own bank account. If not, they have the nonprofits to then kind of step in, which we're seeing more of those come up because they're recognizing it. We're seeing wellness events coming up. So some departments still use it to check the box, and that's how it is. But there's a lot bringing it in. They have wellness checks now with their officers to try and at least give them the opportunity to get in front of a therapist. So I see it starting to change. We still have some of the old school mentality in the higher up positions. And that, I think, as it starts to fade out, we'll see more of it changing. And I have seen that a lot of them, that once they finally get therapy and see the benefits, those were usually the ones most against it to begin with. They see how it's helpful and they're now speaking out and they're like, oh no, like I go to therapy, I can do this, you can do this, it's not so scary. So that's where we're going to see the biggest shift, is when the officers themselves speak up. They'll get more people to join versus us trying to go in as clinicians to get them to buy into the stuff.
Right.
Mhm.
See the results.
Correct.
Do you see the older generation not as accepting for the help versus the newer generation?
Oh, absolutely. I still see that very much. And that's usually where you have your brass. That's going to be your higher ups for a lot of it, that are making those decisions or making those kind of comments. So we're still seeing a little bit of that shift and a little bit of that, I don't know. But we are also seeing at the same time being more open to it. So it's promising at the direction that it could be going. And then it's state by state changes a little bit here and there.
Right. A big thank you to Brianna Reinhold for doing what you do for our first responders. I'm Tessa Milne, your mental health news correspondent. Make sure to follow Tessa Milne Reports for more news and support.